My name is Dina. I'm 55. I grew up in Chester, Illinois. This is my last day of work as a paraeducator with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing department. With my first pregnancy, we did take birthing classes, all of that. I felt really good. I was still working out. It was a problem-free pregnancy. I had very little morning sickness. I never actually threw up. I think I was nauseous for a little bit, but no big deal. With my second pregnancy, I was a little more sick, still easy. I mean, I would, of all things considered, I didn't have any heartburn or, nothing like that. It was easy and, easy enough that I wanted to do it a third time. With my third, I was very, very sick, nauseous. Again, I did not throw up a lot, but it was a constant nausea. And I remember thinking, if I lose this baby, like if I have a miscarriage, I don't think I can start all over again. Like it was so bad, I just couldn't imagine starting again, but that didn't happen. And I got over it. Favorite part about being pregnant. I think it was just like the honor of it. The privilege is probably a better word. The privilege of the experience. I did like feeling the movement. Prior to getting pregnant with my first, I had some eating disorder in my younger years, and that was getting the weight on was a mental hurdle for me. I had to really be conscious of not stepping on the scale and not doing all of that. So that was a struggle, and that continued with all three. Like the gaining of the weight was tough, but the being pregnant itself was, and it was because it was so easy. I had easy pregnancies. With my first, my water broke at work, which was yay. I was working with a young girl who had just gotten married, and she was very excited about the whole thing, like closing up the shop, and we're having a baby. And it was pre-cell phones, of course. So my husband had a beeper. So I went home. My coworker followed me home, and I beeped Matt, and he called, and he came home right away and asked if he could take a shower first. So don't mind me, I'll just wait. So went to the hospital, things moved slow. They put me on Pitocin, which was to increase labor. One funny thing, my OB came in the afternoon and said, the baby's probably gonna come in the middle of the night, and he said, I have to warn you, I'm not a night person. I'm not gonna be very friendly. Please don't take it personally. And I'm glad he said that, because he literally said, congratulations. And that was it. Yes, came in, caught the baby, and left. With my son, I was due to go in for an appointment to be checked, and felt like I was in labor. I just felt different. And I did. I got into the office, they checked me, and they said, yes, you are in labor. And then they hooked me up to the machines. His heart rate kept stopping every time he would drop into the birth canal. So they did an emergency cesarean and found out that he had tied a slip knot in his cord when I was probably 15 weeks. It had to be somewhere before 15 weeks so that he was small enough to do all maneuvering. But yeah, the doctor pulled him out and was like, whoa, look at this. Perfect slip knot. So that was scary because I hadn't considered cesarean as a possibility. But with my third, I was ready for all of the possibilities. We were leaving for a festival in Downers Grove, and I wanted to run to the bathroom before we left because the porta potty at 9 months pregnant was not ideal. And I started to bleed a little bit in the bathroom, so we grabbed the other two, dropped them off, drove to the hospital, and because it was a Sunday, drove to the hospital, and that was probably, my last was probably my smoothest, easiest birth. I was hooked up, I got my epidural, my doctor was on call, and yeah, it was smooth and easy and most enjoyable. I did have an epidural with my first, but it didn't really work like it was supposed to. I remembered my friends saying, oh, once I got the epidural, I took a nap, and I was like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it took the edge off, but it was still excruciating pain. And with Philip, I had the cesarean, so.
How would you describe like labor pain?
Intense. It was like a cramp. It was, they talk about contractions. That's exactly the description I would use. Like your whole body tenses up and your uterine muscle becomes as hard as a rock. Kind of like a Charlie horse, but in your abdomen.
So first baby.
Yep. They
hand you Grace for the first time.
Yep.
What is the first thought that goes through your head?
I was really nervous because, first of all, I thought instantly, I can't do this again. This was too much for me. It's too hard. How am I going to tell Matt that this is it? This is where we stop having baby. This is it. This is your one and done. Then she was perfect, and she was so quiet. She didn't even cry when she was born. She just looked around and was like so at peace. Yeah, it was good because she was so easy. I mean, afterwards.
Were you scared at all?
Not really, not yet. I remember taking her home and like being nervous about like the hours between feedings and how many poops, and like I was nervous about the technicalities of those things, And we had a lot of help. We lived close to family, so we had a lot of people, to lean on. And
yeah. Where did their names come from?
I just really liked, before I got married, I think, I had worked, and one of my clients had a daughter named Claire, and I really loved the name, so I just hung on to that one. I'm not 100% sure where Grace came from, but Grace and Claire were both on the list when Grace was born, and I just went with Grace. I don't really know why. Her middle name is my mom's middle name. And then Philip, we really didn't have a whole lot of boy names. My best friend's husband's name is Philip, and I didn't know any other Phillips, so it was kind of a unique but still classic name. And then when Claire came around, I just used the other girl name that I hadn't used before. She got a recycled name.
Just the wrong event.
No, and I loved it though. So.
Now that they're grown, if you could tell them like anything right now, what would you say to them? So if you get emotional and stuff.
What would I say? I guess I would say how proud I am of them. I mean, they really they really knocked it out of the park. And maybe, I mean, because you don't know what you're doing as a parent. So maybe mistakes that I made, I would apologize for, whatever they felt those were, you know.